Welcome to Tucker Carlson Today. It's not an exaggeration to say Charlie LaDuff is among the greatest living American journalists. So, of course, he doesn't work for NBC News or CNN or even his former employer, the New York Times. He's now the host of the podcast No BS News Hour with Charlie LaDuff. And there is indeed no BS with Charlie LaDuff. He joins us in studio. Charlie LaDuff.
Yeah,
breaking news.
Yeah, Tucker Carlson.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. It's my mom.
I already talked to him this morning.
I'm sorry, I didn't know where you're going. Okay, I'll get back to bye. What's up, brother?
It is great to see you,
to
Charlie.
see you.
Thank you, man. I
man.
appreciate it. So for our viewers, so all of our viewers should know who you are. I'm not taking that for granted, so I just cannot resist. If you ask your average journalist, your average reporter, like, tell me about your life, it's profoundly uninteresting. I think your life is more interesting by at least 100%. Tell us where you're from and how you got here.
I'm from Michigan. I was born in the Naval Hospital. My dad was in Nam, so my mom was in the base. And we are from Detroit, and they divorced. And then she remarried, and we moved to Gary. And then
you moved to Gary, Indiana?
Yeah, then we struck it rich and moved back to Detroit. And then they got divorced, and she remarried. And the modern American dream, we moved into subsequently smaller and smaller homes. And she remarried. We moved to a bigger home. And I'm from her, and I'm from the great state of Michigan. That's my people. That's really what I am.
Wait, so you moved to... I'm sorry to laugh.
You
moved from Detroit...
To Gary.
And I married a woman from Detroit. I love Detroit.
You, the driver that brought me here, me, he's going through trouble. You should have known, man.
but and then you moved to Gary, which I think is the toughest city in this country, for sure. What was that like?
Young, but like it, just remember people coming home from work. We lived near the highway. I remember Grandpa's TV. Remember, like, Cannon would come on and it had the rabbit ears and it'd pick up CB traffic. And I thought that was the coolest thing in the world. You know what I mean? But remember what that cradle really is. The wealth that created the United States of America that we pine for, that we're trying to hold on to. Yeah. So it's fun, but it's real, man. That is real. If you look at Gary and you look at Detroit, I told everybody for years now, if that's what happened to us, guess what's going to happen to you?
Well, that's right.
Yeah.
Gary being this basically big integrated steel town just south of Chicago on the lake, run by a steel company. I think one steel company ran the whole
U.S.
town.
Steel?
U.S. Steel. The only place I've ever been in the United States with an abandoned hotel in the middle of town. I mean, really, really tough.
Where's that?
In Gary.
But it got to be one in Winslow, Arizona. Or something.
There might be, I mean? But not like
Wichita, Kansas.
Not like a big city, glass-sided hotel just abandoned. Right.
We had that before as well. Yeah.
That's unbelievable. So that's how you grew up. Then you wind up winning the Pulitzer Prize at the New York Times, like basically the highest possible merit badges in journalism. How'd you get from where you grew up to there?
Real quick. So I went to University of Michigan. I graduated. I got a one-way ticket to Sydney, Australia. I got off the plane. I started walking around looking for a job. I got a bartending job. Saved my money. I bought a motorcycle. I pounded some nails. I was in the desert the night Mike Tyson got knocked out in the Outback. It was great. So I didn't have water all day. I'm drinking beer. I walk in this Outback bar. Haven't had a glass of water. I'm drinking beer. Mike Tyson gets knocked out. The place goes berserk. A Yank walks in. We have a lot of drinks. I take it back to a beautiful cliff overlooking the bay. And I'm so drunk, me and the motorcycle fall down the cliff. I leave it there. I go to sleep on a pile of red ants. I scream. I run up the hill, realize I need water. I turn on some person's spigot up there at the top of the hill. And a dog chases me, and I run away in my underpants. That's that part. So by the time I get back to the United States...
Still in your underwear?
Yeah. I'm in New York, and a bunch of college guys, we'd get together. And a guy said, I'm going to journalism school. I'm not a rube, but I didn't know they had journalism school. And I'm like, I might try that. I got some stories. So I applied a couple years later, and I went to Cal Berkeley. And when I was done there, I applied for everything. Couldn't get a job, man. Not the Detroit Free Press, not the Oakland Press, nothing. And then one podunk paper offered me a 10-week internship. Got lucky. Podunk, and it was the New York Times. It's a true story. I couldn't get an internship, and the New York Times calls me up and goes, "We like your clips." So I went there for 10 weeks, and I hung on for 12 years.
That's amazing.
It was luck.
Wound up being the LA bureau chief.
No, I was the number 2 in LA, which you always wanted.
You felt like, when I knew you out there, you felt like the bureau chief to me.
I got a great piece of advice from a guy named Mike Weinrib about the New York Times. He goes, "You want to do what you want to do here? Never be important. Never be the bureau chief of anything. Never want to be the editor of anything. That way they don't notice you. You're not going after anybody's job. You're just out to do your own thing." And so my whole thing there is very elite, big minds with big vocabulary. And I didn't have that. So I said to myself earlier, I'm just going to write what's in my head. I'm going to write my voice, my rhythm, my people, working people, you know. That's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm good at, and that's what I did.
You wrote one of my favorite pieces I've ever read in any newspaper ever. It was kind of just a little random piece. You were driving through the city, and you look up at the top of this building, and there's a radio tower. And, of course, it has a light bulb on the top, so planes don't fly into it. And you ask yourself, I wonder who changes that light bulb.
Yeah. That was the Empire State Building.
The Empire State Building.
I still have the bulb.
So you found the guy who goes all the way to the top, and you wrote this just riveting piece on it. I remember sitting, drinking coffee, reading it in the morning, and thinking, this is like an unbelievable story. When I read that, I thought, why doesn't the New York Times, best funded newspaper in the world, why don't they have a piece like this every single day?
Those are hard to do.
Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, no offense to him, but okay, fuck it.
Yeah.
Offense to him. I can't read anything in that almost now. There are. I want to give love. When those pieces come, right, and there are people that are correct, there are not enough of them.
Right.
Journalism is the first draft of history. It also informs you, but everything reads like a term paper now.
Yes.
I want a story.
Exactly.
I want a story. And I don't want a person, like when the crash came in 2008, we're trying to figure out what happened with work in America, right? So we're sending guys in Buster Brown shoes and Oxfords with their shirt sleeves rolled up, and they're in like some miner's trailer in West Virginia. And it doesn't come across like you want to spend any time with the man.
Right.
Just looking at his life, giving me some details about what it is to live at the turn of the second millennium. Think about the history of life and how you think about it. The year 1500, the year 0. What happened in the year 1000? The Vikings. We're from the year 2000. Look at everything happening. I mean, the airplane, the atom bomb, the computer, you know what I mean? Everything. It's within 100 years.
Yes.
So it's up to us to chronicle it. So our grandchildren might know from which they came. That's the mission. Mine anyway. And by the way, hey, Alan, I know there's great writers at the New York Times, but you loosen up and let these people write some stuff. Because the main reason I get that paper now in Detroit is cold. I have a fireplace. Nothing starts a fire like newspaper.
No, I totally agree. It's difficult with your digital sub to get the wood stove
It's my
going.
mom again. She said, fix your hair.
So you leave the New York Times, but you don't become a journalism professor like basically everyone else who leaves.
Well, you know anybody?
But you decide, no, there was another, I'm just thinking, the other guy who you worked with at the time who left the New York Times roughly around the time you did, who was like you, famous for his voice and his writing style, whatever, became a professor. But you didn't. And you decided to write local news in the city you came from.
Yeah. I'm just writing something down. I want to get back to it about the Empire State Building. It's important.
Tell me.
That man's name's Tom Silliman. So the guy, the top of the Empire State Building is a radio tower. And when the radio needle is on, you'll fry up there, right? And if you Google a picture of the Empire State Building, you'll see there's some stairs, like on the needle. And then there's a crow's nest with no sides. So it's just a circular platform. And then it's just a free fall. And there's about another 150 feet of pegs to where the light bulb is. And it's actually just a gigantic light bulb. Right? So it was an honor to go with him and his people. They're from Kentucky. They're from Indiana. Just great guys. Really interesting crew. And then, not a year later, those planes hit the towers. Light bulb goes out again. So September 11th, the towers go down. light bulb goes out in November, and he's got to fix it. It's a duty of his. It's pride. Plus the children of greater New York, that's Rudolph's nose,
Yeah.
that red light up there. So we're up there on that crow's nest with our feet hanging off of it. It's a free fall. And we're drinking beer, and we're looking way down on ground zero. And it's just a beacon of light, right? And it looks like muslin cloth is over. You could see the dust. You could see the activity. And we're just sitting there drinking beer. And he just turned to me and he said, why do they hate us? And I said, I don't know. It was just a profound moment in my life, two men's life.
Yes.
That's what's so great about that city. Every little corner, as high up as you could see, you'd never imagine people might be there having really human, regular talks with each other. And I just want to document, like, I love this country, and nobody shall be removed from the earth. We all got a right to think how we think, to love how we love, to express ourselves and our politics, right? So everybody leave everybody alone, man. I mean, let's work it out. We all want the same end. It's how to get there. It's a good life is what we want. And we're arguing about how to get there. And I come here as the guy in the middle.
Yes.
You got to clear me. You got to clear me, and I don't know how Tom thinks I won't speak for him, right? But you got to clear the guy up on the ladder and the guy down in the sewer, because we all make it go together. That's the great...
Is he still changing the light bulbs?
I don't know. I thought about getting a hold of him on the 20-year anniversary, but you know who got a hold of me was Sean Cummins from Squad 1 in Brooklyn, who lost half their guys, and he was so guilt-racked. I was writing a bunch of profiles on him, the widow, the men who passed, all of it. And in April of the next year, Sean, we meet for coffee in Times Square. He's been reassigned. And he goes, I'm done, mate. He's Irish. It's a good Irish accent. I'm done, mate. No more hero. I can't take it. I'm cracking up. And he walked out of the coffee shop, and I lost another friend at Ground Zero. Hadn't spoken to him 20 years. He volunteered for Iraq, paratrooper and stuff. This guy, because he felt he owed it to his brothers who had passed in the firehouse. One more go. That's the kind of guy I'm attracted to. That's the kind of guy I think we are. And he called me like 4 days before the anniversary. I hadn't talked to him in 20 years, man. He heard the podcast and everything, and he called, and it was like old friends again. And we cracked the whiskey, and he's in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. That's where he lives now. If you go to Gettysburg, you want to tour the town, Sean Cummins is your guy. And we talked, and it was beautiful. And I felt like someone had come back to me. I could actually cry.
So when did you leave New York?
September 10th, 2002.
Damn.
I landed in LA that day. I couldn't take it anymore. I understood what Sean was saying. So then I did the West. And I love the West.
Yeah, me too.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Weirdness. It's I'm sorry. But then I had a kid. My only child. I love you, baby. And I got fed up with the attitude at the New York Times, this from on high down. Like, I got a national editor telling me, like, I grew up on the East Coast in France. I said, that's all right. That's my job. I grew up. I never wanted to leave and be in a foreign posting that the empire is here. The center of the global empire as we know it in 2000 is here. I want to document us. So maybe they didn't like the way I was documented so much. I know the reader did. And then my child came and my wife started her job in the LA schools. I said, okay, I quit. I'm going to raise a kid. You stay home, dad. And it was really informative because I realized I'm not from LA. My mother's not in LA. My mother-in-law's not in LA. My brothers aren't in LA. My brothers-in-law, my sisters, our whole family, our being, our core is the middle. It's Detroit. And if there's anything I can give my kid, it would be Detroit. That's what I know. I know this, brother, that everything you need to know on this planet, and I've been to 5 continents and every state in the union, that you learn in Detroit. You learn to say yes, ma'am, yes, sir. You take your shoes off, somebody's house. They offer you food, you eat it. You give the children the time of day. You approach the elders first, right? That's universal. I learned it there. So I went.
Do you regret going back?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if you're listening. It's broken. We're struggling. Like NAFTA didn't work for us.
No.
It didn't work for normalization of trade with China. It didn't work for us. The repeal of Glass-Steagall, the banking deregulation that creates the mortgage calamity, it didn't work for us. So we're trying to put stuff together. We don't have anything. I mean, we have each other, and we do have stuff. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's not the Titanic totem that it was 50 years ago. 50 years ago, everything spun around Detroit. We were the richest city. We had home ownership. The schools were excellent. So I'm chronicling it. That's where I'm at. Yeah, would I like to get out? I get a lot of job offers. I don't take them. My kid's not done.
So is it your sense that, about maybe 10 years ago, we started to hear that, big banks, JP Morgan, for example, was throwing a bunch of money at Detroit. You had a couple.
They were?
They said they were. They said they were.
Please.
And you had
that 60 Minutes BJ?
I think that's right.
Oh, come on, bro. And by the way, you were required to do that as part of your $13 billion fraud settlement, the biggest in the United States, and yet you can buy 60 Minutes and come in here and parade around the street. Look at that. What? Come on. Bullshit. Just be aware. It worked, but it's not true.
So it didn't.
Jamie, come on, bro. Come on, man.
So Jamie Dimon didn't fix Detroit?
No. I don't even know what he accomplished. I mean, are you hearing anything now?
I don't live there. You do.
I know, but JP Morgan Chase came into Detroit. You think it looked like Manhattan. Do you hear anything about, what 60 Minutes was profiling about them coming in and helping us?
You got new restaurants downtown. People drive in from Bloomfield Hills and Grosse Pointe to have dinner there. I don't know. Is that true?
Yeah, but it goes like this. Well, that's pre-COVID. Now we can get into all this business, and I wrote stuff, bro.
Good.
I'm happy there's some business downtown, but now they're closing. Okay, and by the way, remember something. Normal people have a budget.
Right.
Normal people have an amount of money that they make every year. Regular people, if they're lucky anymore. So you plan for 10 dinners out a year. That's a little too much for me. I'm agoraphobic. I'm just sick of people, to be honest with you. And I don't want to wear a mask.
Yeah.
I wrote stuff. We get off to all that, right? Okay, look, man, you live in the suburbs. So you don't go to Luigi's in the suburbs. You go to Prime and Proper downtown. That pulls from Luigi. Understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So good for Detroit, bad for the suburb. So what Detroit's being predicated on is pulling from the region downtown. You're enticed to come downtown by giving exorbitant tax breaks, especially the big boys, right? So Blue Cross Blue Shield leaves Southfield, comes to downtown Detroit, and now they're not paying property taxes that they used to pay to Southfield, right? So overall, in the public's bank, which pays for like water and police and fire and ambulances and schools, we're losing. So to me, it's not a model of development. It's a shell game. So good, there's restaurants in Detroit, but not as less restaurants in the suburbs. So as a region, we don't benefit unless we get people from the outside, like Florida does, like New York does, like Chicago does. Otherwise, we're cannibalizing ourselves.
Are people moving to Detroit from outside? Or are you the only one?
No, Detroit lost population in the last census. In Michigan, we're about even. We lost a congressional seat. That should tell you something.
Right. So I want to get into the effects of COVID on the state of Michigan, your governor, all that stuff. But before we go, I just want to into that.
Did this make any sense?
It made total sense, but I just want to pause and give our viewers who may not have seen it a sense of your journalism, your video journalism. So this is a clip from a pretty famous piece you did on a squatter in Detroit, someone who had just moved into a home that was unoccupied for 5 weeks and declared ownership of the home. and you show up and you talk to this person, and it's worth watching the whole thing. We're going to play about a minute. But as you watch this, what I love about it, your posture toward crazy people you interview is always on some level sympathetic. You're never haranguing them. You're never, the I-team is here to correct injustice. You're kind of laughing along with them. There's something sort of warm about all of this. Anyway, here's the clip, which cracks me up.
If I left my house, say for a month
and a half,
you think you would be entitled to move in there?
Well,
take my stuff?
Well, it's a lot of, I'm not the only one that is squatting. It's a lot of other people on the block, if you want to be technical, and a lot of people encouraged me to do what I'm doing now.
But she wants her place back.
Yeah, but I had put a lot of work in here, and I spent a lot of money. I am on a fixed income.
Is that power hooked up legit there?
My power is...
That's not legit.
It's not legit.
No, you stealing a bit of power.
I am blessed.
You're stealing, aren't you? Yeah. And at one point, you turn around and you say, not going to get away with this, are you? She goes, no.
Here come the police. Whoa. And I want to thank the Westin Hotel for letting me use that bathroom. Because people are like, you stole a bathrobe. And I said, no, my brother's name is Westin.
Anyway, there's something so great about that. I would recommend to all of our viewers, if you haven't.
You know how much I still get email from the UK. Can you come over and help me get the squatter out?
What did that end? That story end there? Did the squatter leave?
The police showed up. Squatter got arrested because Detroit had just changed its law. Squatters' rights.
Yeah.
If you can believe it, by being in the middle. Somebody wanted to sell that house, and it used to be like, no, you got to take them to landlord-tenant court, and they're not even your tenant. And so you couldn't get squatters out. So
that's insane.
So they pretended like it had just changed, but the city wasn't putting squatters out. And I called the woman and go, well, let's put it to the test. And I called the chief of police. Here comes a squad car, and whoa, that's a turn of events, isn't it?
How is the city run? So it used to be that the rest of the country paid a lot of attention to the comedic pratfalls of the city of Detroit. The people who ran it were corrupt. They all went to jail, et cetera, et cetera. I haven't followed it recently. Is the city better run than it once was, do you think?
Well, the mayor was elected with 75%.
Yes.
But there are 6 new city council people. So people are unhappy in their neighborhood level, but the superficie, they think it's fine. But I'm looking at the books. I'm looking at sports arenas that are draining $25 million a year out of the city that could go to schools. I'm looking at real estate deals where Amazon's moving in and they're not going to take any, sweeteners, as they say, but the city's out $11 million. Like, how is it you have a contiguous 150-acre piece of property and you're paying $11 million? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's what's going on everywhere, but in Detroit, it's so threadbare, you can see it, and because of the state of the media, because it's lapdog, because everybody's afraid, because they're playing with their last chip, because the editors and publishers drink at the same clubs as the oligarchs, that you don't do to people's business. Now, we all like entertainment, but I went to the University of Michigan, studied economics. Risk equals reward. You go into business, it's a risk. If it works, you're rewarded. I didn't ever think I'd see where capitalists' risk is indemnified by the poorest people in America.
That's exactly right.
Bullshit.
No, I couldn't agree more.
This isn't water, this is beer. Sorry, New York.
It is.
New York didn't want you to see the beer.
Does anybody cover Detroit? So you had at one point 2 newspapers, a bunch of big local TV channels.
You know it's got 2 thumbs, speaks French, and covers Detroit? Moi.
That's it. That's my sense of it. I never hear. It's a major American city, as you point out. It built the country. It built built the automobile. Completely changed the course of human history, Detroit. And now, no one's paying attention to what happens there. What?
Let me say that there are some hard hitters, some killers, some journalists in Detroit. You know what I mean? But those would be like beats, like
Yeah.
federal court or Lansing, state capitol.
Right.
But holistically, no, and it's a gem. It's an absolute writer's gem.
Yeah, I've noticed.
In fact, if somebody gets the bright idea, some young man or woman should go to Detroit, embed themselves, and they could probably write a best-selling book. Oh, that's right, I did that.
So what effect did COVID have on a city like Detroit?
That's so deep, man.
It is-
You just asked me.
Well,
like,
okay, so
COVID.
here's the background of the question. I'm having dinner with a friend of mine the other night.
You owe me dinner, by the way.
I know I do.
Okay, we'll tell him why.
Affluent guy, and we're talking about the lockdowns, and he's talking about how much he's got all these kids, they're all home, and they're all these places, and he said, very thoughtful person, and he goes, COVID was amazing for rich people. It was like the most fun ever. And I think there's some truth in that.
Yeah.
So what is it like for people who aren't so rich?
Well, let me just say, I never was one. I won't be in lockdown. You can't be a reporter, be locked down. I'm going to do a virtual press conference where they decide if they're going to call on you, and click, there'll be no follow-up. Everybody in the reporting game knows it's in the follow-up.
Of course.
And everybody in the reporting game knows you already know that answer. Otherwise, don't ask it. It's empty theater, right?
Right.
Okay, show up to the press conference and know your business. I was out with the cops. I was in the jailhouse. Like the jailhouse, COVID was running wild, and COVID's real,
Well, yeah.
And they were putting sick people, vomiting, fever, they were giving them a bus ticket home. In the county jails in the center of Detroit, but the county's huge. And then they put a feverish dude on a bus. He takes the wrong bus, goes to Oakland County, gets confused, takes a cab down here, dies dead in his house, nobody go pick him up. How many did you infect? What's the deal? You know what I mean? What's the deal with putting him on a bus, man? This is bad government.
They actually put a guy who was dying
bunch of times.
Okay.
A bunch
Sorry
of
to
times.
laugh.
The sheriff died of COVID, the guy that runs the jail. The deputy sheriff died of COVID. The two main doctors in the jail died of COVID, and the sheriff didn't even know they were dead. This is where I live.
What do you mean didn't know they were dead?
Didn't know they were dead. I called up and said, the two main doctors that you contract out are dead? I wasn't aware of that.
What?
I'm not kidding you. Okay, so governor pronounces, the nursing homes are the safest thing we do. We're requiring them to drop plastic sheets in between the sick people and the unsick people. Plastic sheet. So you know what I did? I went out with. Remember, man, when the old people die at the nursing home, who goes and gets them? Great question, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a great question.
Thank you very much. It's like the guy that replaces the bulb, right? Right. I'm trained. Hey, man, can I go with you? It's a service. It's a service. They go to nursing homes. They go to the hospital, right? They service the funeral industry. So I'm collecting old, dead COVID people all night. Because one, I want to see about this guy who's actually doing it. I always imagine in this worldwide pandemic, who those brave people, the most essential of everybody.
Yes, that's for sure.
Fantastic guy, really interesting. He took me to the crematorium and all those guys, and they're pulling somebody off a shelf, and the body comes out and sprays all the stuff on him, and I'm like, oh my God, I got COVID. But man, what tough people. And I get into the nursing home to see if this stuff has been put in place. You know what I mean? Like HVAC. Suck up all the crummy air. Since we threw trillions out there, since Uncle Sam sent it to Lansing, what'd you do with it? Did you help the nursing homes fix it? No. See, they won't let you in those nursing homes, will they? I'm going to figure out a way in those nursing homes. You didn't fix that. When the cops went out on quarantine, right, in Detroit, the shooting of children went up 300%. When everybody's supposed to be locked down. This is before George Floyd. This is before cabin fever. March to April and April to May, 300%. We had 120 children shot. Per capita, we're second to St. Louis. Not a good look. What about our children? Like let's be populist for real. The population.
Yes.
We're all paying. Where's it going? That's what I see, dude. Because
why do you think? Can I pause and ask? Why do you think that happened? Why would there be a 300% increase in the murder of children?
Let me see here. Let me go through my book of philosophy here. Oh, right. When there are no police around, people do bad. Right. Who wrote that? I think that was Jefferson. Oh, come on. It's that simple. And the data shows it. That simple data shows you something. When a quarter of the police force isn't working, just, out, you see it. You see it. So I think we spoke, we the middle, we the reasonable people.
Yes.
Right? You not only may you not defund the police, you must fund the police better if you want better police. It's
Right.
just factual. I understand the other side of it. We need to fund schools. I agree.
Me too.
We need to fund roads, 100, right? So where do we get the money? Well, that's what political office is for and legitimate thinking people that we don't have. But maybe we don't dump it into hockey arenas for a guy that can afford his own.
I think that'd be a good start.
I mean, it's not the end all. And I know 25 million means nothing to New York, but we went bankrupt. It means everything. I mean, we stop voting like it's a popularity contest and vote for boring, competent people, for God's sakes.
Yes.
And we need to change the law so we can have 3 and 4 parties. Because even if you vote a third party, right, it's winner takes all, right? So if you get 40%, you take all. It's not like you get 40%, they get 30%, and you get 30%. It's winner takes all.
Right.
So this third party nonsense doesn't even work for me.
Wait, can I just go back a second?
I know, I'm all over the place.
No, but I'm just interested. So you...
I'm better than Junior.
So you go
Cool dude.
with the guy whose job it is to collect the bodies of elderly people who've died of COVID.
Yeah.
And he's doing it all night long.
Matt, yeah.
Was he afraid?
No, it was a trip. You can look it up. LaDuff, corpse collector, COVID. The dude, we pick up the body, and then you go to this small town in Wayne County, and the funeral director leaves the key under the mat. One of those old school,
Yeah.
old-timey America. And he opens it up and puts the guy in there, and, maybe squirt and squirt. He smokes cigars. Okay? So he drops his cigar on the floorboard of the van, of the death mobile. And he's been walking in funeral parlors and, morgue coolers and everything. And he drops it, and he puts it in the ashtray. I go, what are you going to do? You're going to smoke that? Oh, you're going to smoke that? I didn't know I was going to smoke that. I go, you're going to smoke that. Then why are you putting when you're in this whole argument? It's really ridiculous. He's resigned to it. He'll just do it. He wasn't that afraid of it. And he's a big, heavy guy. He's a candidate. He just did the work.
Does he have a family?
I think he's single. It was a while they wrote. It's all in the story, but I think he's single. Good Catholic guy, real salt of the earth. I liked him a lot. I liked everybody I met that night. The nurses at the nursing home. I mean, look, at some point we know this. The average age of the person that died of COVID in Michigan is 76 years old.
Yeah.
200 children in America died from COVID. And most of them had pre-existing conditions. I mean, people under what, the age of 12?
Yeah.
Let's let that sit there for a second. And what did we do to protect, minimum 1/3 of the people that died nationwide were in nursing homes? What did we really do with trillions to protect them? We could have done that. Instead, we perseverated, we lied, like a Cuomo. The audit on Whitmer's coming out at the end of the month. Let's see, dude, I worked hard to get that.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, so we'll see. Why didn't we circle the wagons and protect the people that needed it?
I don't know.
Do you
What
agree
is?
that we
Oh
did not?
no! I thought that was the first thing I thought. That was the first thing I
You
thought.
shut down the whole world. You ruined children's lives. Okay, and we obeyed. Every one of us. Don't lie to yourself. The first month, you were squirting Lysol on the bags from the grocery store. You're washing each and every individual leg. Remember?
No.
You didn't do that? No. Well, dude, I got COVID and I got the 2 shots because my wife and child asked me to. And I still got to wear a mask. I had COVID, right? Nobody's giving me a study, dueling studies on antibodies. How long do my antibodies last? Is it good for me, worse for me, the same if I get it or not? And I still have to wear a mask. And look at us. You know what we're projecting out there? No big deal.
Yeah.
Look at football. Look at the president when he talks. This is so weird. And I know who it kills. It kills the obese, those with pre-existing conditions, and the elderly, the weak. It's a low-level flu that'll kill you that we didn't have a solution for. I don't know what we're doing. When is this over?
What do you think the purpose of it is? Not to get to motive, but I'm fixated.
Well, okay. Okay, it's just between me and you. We'll fix this
Yeah,
in post.
did you-
I don't want to get into all this with America.
Fix this
so
in post.
we'll just talk, right?
Yeah.
I'll do fucking A, man. This thing got so politicized. History's going to forget that COVID happened in the year of Trump versus Biden.
Yeah, I know.
Like everything else. Do you remember the left saying, I would never trust a Trump vaccine? I'm sure you played those clips on your show. You have.
Yes, I do.
In fact, I've seen that show. Yeah, bro. Huh? And now you become some kind of swine if you won't? Isn't 80% of the population got at least 1 shot? 70% got at least 2 shots? And 45 million actually had COVID? Isn't that like 100% herd immunity? Wasn't I told 70? What's going on? Just a voice from the middle, and we're a real tough place. I'm a real tough guy. I'm a real tough guy. Real tough guy. I'm huge. Nice. Wanted to do that. What's up, Don? I know he watches.
So the reaction to all this, though, really did split. You know, they're always trying to racialize everything and make everything a color divide. But at least from where I sit, it seemed almost like a socioeconomic divide. It was like when I was in New York or any city, you'd go to the affluent areas and people would be running on the West Side Highway with masks on. But then if you go to the poor areas, like people did not have masks on. It did seem like
In the cities, they don't wear them either. African Americans.
that's what I'm saying.
Oh, but then in the countryside, white people.
Yeah.
Oh, so, okay, well.
So, but like, do you
We,
think?
they don't trust government.
Yeah. Well, good point.
End of story there. Stop telling me what to do all the time. You know what I mean? Treat me like an adult. Lecturing me and hectoring me and, you know what I mean?
Do I know what you mean? Yeah.
Yeah, I think
I know
I
what
think
you
everybody
mean.
does.
Yes.
I think everybody does.
Those words resonate. Tell us about your governor.
Well, let's find out. Okay, look, here's the deal. We weren't even reporting it. It's all COVID to me. Look,
Right.
if I had to sue my governor to give me legitimate data on nursing home deaths, which I didn't quite get, but I did get the fact that they did a study on all the deaths from like March to May to June, and it was like 45% higher than what they were reporting. And then they dropped the study. They said too time consuming.
To count people's deaths.
Thank you. And like there's nothing else to do. This is all we're doing, and it costs too much money. And yet, Washington sent billions. What are we using it for? Okay. Then it turns out, nursing home is just code word. That's the nursing homes, Medicaid, Medicare standards, right? There's certain facilities, but it's all the other ones too. It's where old people live and the invalids live. So adult foster care, homes for the aged. There are technical differences, but they're nursing homes. We didn't even count those. They weren't even required to report until November. And of those adult foster care facilities, 75% of them have less than 13 people, right? 25% of the whole population weren't even required to report a case. So you know what this number is going to do. And if this number comes back the way I think it is, and it might not, and then I drop it, right? I just want a true accounting as a journalist would ask for. If it comes out proper, she's going to get reelected, I think. You know how this country is. It's razor thin. If it comes back like you undercounted at 30%, 40, that's Cuomo, 40, 50. Ooh, now you got the Republicans. The main guy so far would be James Craig. You've had him on the show.
Yep.
Chief of Detroit Police. Nobody really covers Detroit Police, the politics of it. So the scandals, the rapist cops, the narcotics guys stealing stuff, the manipulation of crime data, all that's going to come out. So my job, my governor, my guy running for governor, I got to give the public what I got taught to do, man, which this is the honest data on these people.
Right.
And I'm not going to sit here and tell you which way to go, because I just respect the process. You know,
Yes.
I'm not here to tell people what to think. I'm here to give you information.
So you think the race will hang on this report on the nursing homes?
It'll be a lot, but it won't. Okay, maybe I overdid it. You know, I mean, inflation,
Right.
infrastructure, schools. There's a lot of stuff. The fact that the governor suspended the Constitution
Right, I noticed
and,
that.
and kept fighting tooth and nail to the end. The fact that you weren't really honest about coming to Florida, like your dad being sick and all this, and who paid for it and all. So we're gonna.
Can I ask you a question?
Live
This
there.
was totally confusing to those of us who don't live in Michigan, even those of us who are married to girls from
I
Michigan.
know stuff about America too.
I do too, but this specific feature of Michigan culture baffled me. Now, when the lockdown started in your state, you were banned from buying paint. Is there something about paint stores in Michigan or the part of the hardware stores that sell paint that is particularly infectious, or like what was that?
Let me see if I can guess why. Let's see if we can make an educated projection of why that might be smart. I don't want you getting paid. It's not necessary. You're going to hang around and you're going to be like, gee, I don't know, George. I don't know if it's the mauve or do we want to do the red brick? I'm not really sure. And then you start, can I get some help? And then, all right, so then you got that. Oh, the seeds. Oh, that's the last bit of pumpkin seeds. Did it? No, what do you do? What do you recommend for mulch? So we want to stop the shenanigans of like congregating. Okay, if you got to get in there, just go get your overpriced turkey and get the hell on out, right? So I can get that. But then the plumbing section's open.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're not going to go to the cantaloupe section and finger it. Forgive that, fix that and edit. Finger the cantaloupe. It made no sense. And then you can't drive. There was a travel ban. She just says there wasn't. That's a lie. Straight up lie. I can't go to my cabin. Yet, if you're from Illinois, you can go to your Michigan cabin. And then your husband's going up there to rake leaves. Everybody knows that if you got a cabin up north, you don't rake your leaves. You let the local dude rake your leaves. Otherwise, his son's going to do a bunch of meth and break into your cabin. It's so true, she says.
She's from the Midwest.
Yeah, well, damn. This is our culture. Now you got to hook the local guy up. You want your house roofed? Either you roof it or you hire a local dude, but you don't hire a dude from down, city way to come on up. Frowned upon. Like you rake your leaves, like a dentist rakes his leaves. I'm sure some of you do.
Now, you just mentioned something that's a huge fact of life in the state of Michigan, and I will say Wisconsin, that people don't talk about on the East Coast, which is the invasion by people from Illinois. And they come into your state.
Chicago.
Exactly.
Suburban Chicago.
Acting like it's theirs. Is there any chance you'd build a wall or take any kind of affirmative steps to stop it?
I hang out on the other side of the state, dude. I don't know anything about those people. This is the state of Michigan, right?
Yeah.
And this is the West. This is Lake Michigan.
Right.
And here's Chicago. And
Right.
they come up and do, the wine country and stuff. I'm up here, where the shores are rocky, like Maine. You know what I mean? And the cliffs are high and it's boring and the motorcycles run up and down. Because if you think about it, that's where Detroit is.
Right?
Sit. I'm right there.
Yeah.
An hour and a half. You really think I'm driving 4 hours for an overpriced piece of property and I got to hang out with some douchebag from like Oak Park? Not doing it.
So it's not even really an issue for you.
No. I simplified my life, man.
So when was the last time you met someone from suburban Chicago or had to deal with them?
I got a lot of friends living in suburban Chicago. You know, they can, but they're from Detroit. That's who lives in suburban Chicago. Like all the great minds, and you know a lot, like your wife.
Yeah.
Man, we are super smart people.
For sure.
Very clever, do-it-yourselfers, and we move. We move away.
I know. The Detroit diaspora. Let me ask you, so you grew up in a state that was totally dominated by organized labor.
Not totally dominated, no, but yeah, a very big
huge
presence.
part of it.
Yeah.
And for a lot of us on the right, you know, we looked at organized labor and we're like, oh, they're so corrupt, it's so bad, whatever. And then, you know, 30 years later, you start to think to yourself, maybe organized labor was an important balance.
Yeah. Well, that's why, because, man, for the right and the left, like, what's sensible?
I certainly have rethought my views on this a lot. And
you hear that? You all hear that?
Well, I have. I mean, I don't know.
Keep the open mind, man.
Labor should have a say in the equation.
We just, you know, what is it, socialist? Like, look, man, I want to share in the profit. I guess that's socialist.
People who work should have some kind of control over their lives.
Am I a socialist?
Totally
like,
fair.
I want to share in the profit.
I think it's fair. So, but
is that socialist?
What? So the unions now, like, are they? They don't seem to have any power.
UAW got taken over by the feds. Corruption. Right. See, that's the other problem. That's why people left. And then you took people's dues, right? And then you started like getting politically busy with candidates that don't reflect the rank and file's views. And then you jack up their dues. And then it turns out you're golfing.
Exactly.
Come on.
So are there any unions left in the state of Michigan that are sincerely representing their members and who have political power?
I don't know. Don't make me do that.
But does
then I'm gonna get tweeted, dude. It's just,
I'm gonna get to.
And I'm not afraid of that, but it's like I respect working people, and I respect union representation that really represents.
That's how I feel.
You
That's
know,
exactly right.
And I belong to unions, and I've left them, and I've been back to them. There's a lot of bad unions.
Yeah, I know.
And good. What happened with Caterpillar? I've been traveling. Is that they still striking?
I don't think so.
I think they got a piece, right?
Yeah.
Boom. They deserve a piece. Now, okay. What's going on with Biden? Here, I'll tell you right here.
Yeah, so
Ready?
Wrap this up by giving me the holistic.
I could be here all day.
Oh, I love it. Give me the overview from the middle of the ideological spectrum and of the continental United States of Joe Biden. You got the sexy glasses. Okay.
Want to see my impression of a poetry professor? Are you ready? Okay, hold on. Let me redo that again. We'll fix that in post. Okay. This I wrote down. Inflation. Joe, sorry, dude. Inflation. The reason we have inflation, bro, and nobody's talking about it, is all the money we printed.
Yes.
The economy, adjusted for inflation, is more active. The GDP is higher now than it was in January 2020. Adjusted for inflation. So it's not the bottleneck. It's everybody got some cash.
Yes.
Everybody stayed home. Everybody saved the cash. Plus, the amount of cash in the world went up 25%.
Yes.
We created 20% of all dollars last year. Everybody knows the more stuff you got, the less it's worth.
Exactly.
1 diamond ring, very valuable. 50 diamond rings, 1/50th is valuable. So, everybody got money. They all want stuff at the same time. Right? That's why you got all that stuff offshore in LA. Hey, man, you better order it now. You won't get it for Christmas. Order. Boop. Don't got enough trucks. Don't got enough stevedores. It's sitting there. That's what's going on. So, dude, we're into infrastructure. You still haven't explained how you're going to pay for it. Here's what we're not into. A return to the welfare state. Endless checks for everybody, right? College and kids and, we got to get back to earning. We got enough fake dollars out there that they're causing the price of everything to go up. The reason the Feds thought inflation would go down is because we'd be broke ass. They're going to spend the lollipops. They're going to eat those that we sent them, and they'll be broke again. But we got kind of clever. Now everybody's dragging their heels. I want some more. Okay, inflation. 2, immigration. What's going on with this? Babies in cages. Remember that one?
Yeah.
Okay. We got people having children underneath a bridge? Come on. No, dude. Order in the court. Process. We're not into that. Okay. Crime. Fund the police. The left of your party hijacked this crap. Here's what we told the progressives again. It's not progress. Get lost. Okay? Everybody trying to run away from them now. COVID, we already talked about. And here's the other one. It's a big one. Afghanistan. We remember that. That's the signature of your foreign policy. You've got the Chinese buzz in Taiwan and everything else. We haven't forgotten Afghanistan. And did we get all our people out yet?
No.
Hey, Sean, you said you're going to keep on it every night, and then I watched last night in the hotel, and you're not on it anymore. So listen, media, too, stop with the acting and, like, talking to us, like, in talking points. In talking points all the time. Mr. and Mrs. America, the good people of America out there. No, we're normal. We get it. Too much fake money. We want good cops. We want the border under control. We want a future for our kids. Policy on COVID, please, because I'm getting pissed, and everybody I know's getting pissed, and it's getting so bad that I'm out of beer.
I don't think we can top that. Charlie Duff single-handedly covering the great American city of Detroit, not for the money, not for the fame, not for the prestige, but because he thinks someone's got to, and there's no one better to be doing it.
NoBSNewsHour.com.
NoBSNewsHour.com.
DeadlineDetroit.com.
DeadlineDetroit.com. And I'm just going to say it, in case it's not already obvious, an old personal friend of mine. So it's great to...
I knew you when you drank.
That was a long time ago. Listen, we better cut at this point. Yes, well, that's been 20 years. Charlie Duff.
Wait, one more thing.
Yeah.
When I left Fox TV,
Yeah.
they don't know this. I was going to be your road guy.
I know.
The video guy. And Fox TV, remember everything happened at Fox, and they took over the news for a while,
Yeah.
and they wouldn't let me work with you?
Yeah. I don't know.
'Cause
Look,
they got
I'm not
We'll
privy.
fix that in New York.
I'm not privy to all the details.
I still had to-
But I think somebody out in affiliate land, like the word got around, and I don't want to blow anyone's mind, that
Just do
maybe
it.
Charlie Duff isn't entirely controllable.
Hey, folks, what do you want out there? Not controllable? No. I'm a good employee. I'm a good person. But you can't have my mind. Oh, and you owe me dinner because Joe Biden did make it to the general election. You said he was going to die.
Oh, it's so stupid.
I know. So where are we going?
I gotta work.
I'll drink for both of us.
The name is Charlie Duff. You won't forget it if you've come this far. Tucker Carlson Today is the name of the show. New episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Fox Nation. We'll see you every weekday at 8 p.m. on Fox News Channel.
COVID, right?